Yeah, thank you very much for letting me be on this platform. My name is Inam Kula. I am a student activist from South Africa. So I'm not really part of an organization, but I'm part of a generation of students that protested, for free decolonial education in South Africa. So we took to the streets as students and we said that we want free education to the government, but not only free education, but a free decolonized education system. So yeah, that's so okay, yeah, the movement was called Fees Must Fall. So at the end of 2017, Jacob Zuma, the former president of South Africa, announced that there'll be free education for the poor. There's a lot of problems with this because, in South Africa we know that there's a missing middle class. So the free education for the poor doesn't really work, and most South Africans are poor anyway, so why are you saying there's free education for the poor? And also it was not just about the fees, but it was also about the commodification of the education system in and of itself. So there has been strides that we've made, but we haven't really gotten that free decolonized education that we wanted. It's not. I mean, we still study in these ivory towers, and basically the education system is based on Western culture. So we're saying that we want to study in our own languages, we want to learn about our own cultures, and also we want an education system that's going to be useful to society and use our skill sets for society, not as a commodity that enables us to consume other commodities. What you need to understand about South Africa is that there was settler colonialism, and settler colonialism works in a very different way to other forms of colonialism. So divide and conquer was something very important for the colonialists in South Africa. So it not only speaks about Afrophobia, but there was also tribalism, and that was entrenched by the colonialist system, and especially during apartheid, where there was heavy divisions in terms of the tribes. So now what you see in terms of like the hatred towards other Africans, it might not be as much in South Africa, but there is a lot of tribalism within the country in and of itself. But I've been to Namibia, I've been to Zambia, and this is not my first UPEC. I was at the last UPEC, so I've actually been to Dakar. This is my second time in Dakar. So I haven't traveled the continent as much as I would like to. The magnitude of the first UPEC was quite big. There was a lot of excitement. there was a lot of people and a lot of engagement, and so yeah, there's a difference in terms of the numbers, but I think that under the circumstances that we find ourselves in, I think that we've pushed really hard to get some engagement. I think that this is an opportunity to go to the drawing board to understand exactly what we want for the third UPEC and how can we learn from maybe the first one and even the second one, because these hybrid forms that we've now come up with maybe can even assist us to make the third UPEC even bigger with, So I wasn't on the panel, but I made a contribution towards it. Look, I think that systems of patriarchy are entrenched in Africa by the colonialist. I think that we now believe that it's our culture, but it actually isn't our culture. In African society, the woman was always very important, and the woman was always seen as leadership. I mean, for instance, in most South African cultures, we find that the sister of the father is the most important person in the family, and is the key decision maker. So this patriarchy actually, comes from the West. So what I was really trying to get across in that panel is that we need to unlearn and relearn new societal norms, and also men need to step aside and actually listen and engage women in terms of the problems that they find, and also allow women to lead, because we see how men in these spaces are comfortable with the subordination of women. So those are the points that I was trying to get across. Get this point. Look, I think that the role of the woman should be in the revolution, very much so, because we constitute half, if not more, of the population. So we need to be in this game. We can't be on the sidelines of a game that we should be playing in. So it isn't a point that is hard to get across. Is that it's the will. It's the will of the men. It's the will of society to understand that the woman, the place of the woman, is also in the front of the revolution. I feel like all discrimination is intersectional. It's the same. So when Steve Biko said, "Look, guys, as much as you guys are our comrades, but you guys can switch on and off, the problem. You will go home after the struggle or whatever, and you'll go home to a nice house, and you won't face the same challenges as us. So we actually need to be the ones at the front, and you guys need to go and conscientize other white people." So that's the same role that men should be playing, in terms of patriarchy, especially men that are conscious and understand the problems that come with patriarchy. They should be listening to the problems that women face within these spaces, because it is the lived experience of women. And then when they understand it, or when they hear that, they take that information and go conscientize other men. So it's the same principle. I mean, look, the question of activism is a very difficult one, especially when activism within the continent is so disconnected. I think that we need to sort of learn from the liberation movements in the 60s and how they connected, and how that sparked the next liberation in the next country, etc., etc., and how those transnational intercontinental relations worked. But also for me, I think that we need to ask ourselves, how can we dismantle systems of oppression? Can activism even dismantle systems of oppression? Because the main problem that we have is the systems. So it's not really about the smaller issues that we speak about, but how do we dismantle these systems? different definition of feminism, because a lot of the theory of feminism is from the West. And now how do we translate that into an African context? And do we even coin it as feminism? Because I feel like within my culture, in the Xhosa culture, women are strong and women are assertive and women are taken as leaders in any way, So, African women, hold the whole continent on their backs. So do we then coin it as feminism? How do we? I think there's still a lot of questions that we need to answer even as ourselves before we go out there and say, okay, this is what we're presenting, and this is how we need to move forward.